Welcome back to the show, Toronto. It is 7:33 on this Saturday morning. Toronto this weekend. I'm Ben Mulroney. Thank you so much for starting your day with me. And you know what? I got to give a shout out to Jody. That song. That's how I feel right now. I'm in a terrific mood today, and I don't know what. It might be the fact that the roads are clear. I expected one thing, I got something else, and I suspect I'm not alone in feeling that this morning. Welcome back to the show. We're talking real estate. We're talking the city budget as well. And a poll was done by Torontonians, asking them, what do they want from Olivia Chow's first budget as our mayor? And actually, no, we're going to get to that in just a minute. Before we do, let's talk about this other story. I'm sorry. This is we talk about crazy real estate in Toronto. How about real estate for cars, right? We talk about what the teardowns in the city of Toronto that you can get. If you paid for a teardown in Toronto, what you could get for that same amount of money in Europe, you could buy a castle. Well, apparently some Toronto parking spots are on sale for more than $100,000. Specifically in the area of Yorkville, there are spots going for as much as $140,000. And when you look at how much real estate costs, it doesn't. And you hear about the terrible state of the TTC, and some people just need their cars. And if you need your car and you live in Toronto, and you need to be in Yorkville, like, it costs what it costs, right? And if the market can bear it, as disgusting and outrageous as it is, that's sort of just the reality we have to live with. I wish it wasn't the case. Actually, that's not the case. I actually wish I owned a parking spot in Yorkville that I could sell, to be honest. But let us know your thoughts on that. What do you think of $140,000 for a parking spot in Yorkville? I'm sort of nonplussed by it because it doesn't surprise me given how absurd real estate is in Toronto. Jody, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's it's a lot of money. I'm sure maybe we can bring in Deval as a real estate agent.
Let's bring in our friend Deval Morrison from the Bosley Real Estate Limited. Deval, 140 grand. I can't afford it. I don't know very many people who could afford it. But what do you make of this?
You know what? It's a total reality. So it's not just Yorkville. I remember going to a pre-construction condo event for a condo on Delisle. So at Yonge and St. Clair. So in the Midtown neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they were selling parking spots pre-construction for $160,000 and they were getting it.
Just the spot.
Just the spot. However, it means that you have to own a condo in that particular building.
Gotcha.
In order to buy the spot.
So it was an add-on to the condo.
Yeah, it was an add-on to the condo, but you got to keep in mind, parking garages in general are really, really expensive to build.
Yeah. Well,
so
I remember. Sorry, Deval. I just want to say I remember when I was hosting Canadian Idol. We had to shoot a number of scenes inside the elevator of the CN Tower, and because there were a number of these scenes I had to shoot, I was going up and down a lot. And there was a lot of downtime. You want to get it on the way up because the imagery was Canadian Idol rising as a star. But on the way down, we weren't shooting anything. So I got to look at the city. This is over 20 years ago. And I remarked at the time, I was like, wow, there are a lot of above ground parking lots in this city. I suspect if I took that elevator again today, I would not see any of those parking lots.
True. Yeah. Very true. But keep in mind, parking garages are also really expensive to maintain as well, too. So they do add to the maintenance fees that condo owners need to pay. But yeah, parking spots are expensive. And unfortunately, that's a reality. And for a lot of people, even buying the condo pre-construction, you had to have at least 2 bedrooms and up before you were even allowed to purchase a parking spot.
Right.
But all the news is not bad. If you just simply rented that parking spot for $200 a month.
Oh,
you would actually be further ahead than buying the parking spot.
Yeah, and $200 a month, that is all of a sudden affordable for people who are paying for parking every day. Sometimes if they're in a rush, they have to park somewhere they know they shouldn't, and they get a $30 ticket, right? They get dinged every now and then. So having the knowledge and the peace of mind of knowing you have a spot, there's value in that as well. All right, let's move on to what I started this segment with. What Torontonians are thinking about what they want from Olivia Chow's first budget. I think they primed the pump to let us know what was coming, and taxes are certainly on the offing. let's listen to what Budget Chief Shelley Carroll had to say about this.
We are being completely upfront and transparent about what it takes to deliver the city services that you rely on, what it takes to rebuild the city that so many of us miss. Some young Torontonians have never really known that city. It's time to get back to it. We cannot keep pushing the can down the road to future councils or to future generations. I've always said the same thing. I want to build a city that my grandchildren will want to stay in, will want to call home. But it needs to be a city that can deliver the services they need to have happy and healthy lives. I think we all need that for our future generations.
All right, so that's a sentiment I think everybody can get behind, but the devil's in the details. What do Torontonians want, Devel?
Well, I mean, they certainly don't want to have to pay a 10.5% higher property taxes, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. Now, Shelley Carroll did challenge council to come up with cost savings, which they did do, but I still feel that they need to go back and sharpen their pencils because I think that 10.5% increase on property taxes is tough.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, even if you live in a condo, that means your property taxes are going up. You pay property taxes on your parking spot, the ones that we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So this does affect everybody who owns something in the city. And for some of the tenants, it certainly affects them too, because now their landlords are going to want to increase rent because, their property taxes are going up by 10.5%, which is higher than the rate of inflation.
Oh, of course, which is already high.
Which is higher than the allowable amount that landlords are actually allowed to increase rent this year. Landlords are only allowed to increase rent by 2.5%, which I'm just going to highlight again, which is below the rate of inflation.
And as we've been discussing this, I'm sort of looking at this article from I believe it's the Star, what Torontonians want, and asking people what they want versus what they're willing to pay for are two different questions. Right?
Yes.
And so when you say, what do people want? Well, I think 37% of Torontonians favored funding for affordable housing and shelters. So do I. 13% favor funding for TTC and wheels trends. Of course. So it's a wish list of things that they want the city to pay for, not what we are willing to open our wallets for as individuals to have the city pay for. I bet if they had asked those questions, we would be having a different conversation this morning.
Absolutely. Now, municipalities, the bulk of their revenue sources is property taxes. So this is one of their only ways to make money, well, not make money, but increase their revenue.
Yeah.
So should our property taxes go up a little bit? Of course. 10.5% just does seem a little bit too high.
Now, some people say, well, Toronto already has unnaturally low property tax compared to other municipalities. What do you say to that?
It's true. We are the third lowest, I believe, municipality across Ontario for property taxes. So our property taxes are low. People in Mississauga, elsewhere in the 905 are certainly paying higher property taxes. Toronto does have more properties, but the other thing that council could consider is approving more condos to be built faster, because that would increase the number of units that have to pay property tax. So that would be another way to increase their revenue base without killing the rest of us on the 10.5% increase.
Devel, thank you for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your weekend.
Thanks so much.